welcome to the very first panel of MomoCon 2024. Yay! Appreciate you all willing to come here and stop gawking at all the cool costumes out there. None of them are from my game, so I don't mind you coming in here in any case. Yes, this is indeed lip syncing in Street Fighter 1. No, okay, this is making it in indie game dev. So how many of you out there actually already are making indie games? All right, how many want to make your own games? Yeah, there we go. How many of you are already working on a game? Beautiful. How many of you actually have games already up on Steam? All right, good deal. Even itch.io. We love our itch.io folks. All right, good look at it. Good look at it. All right. My name is Andrew Greenberg. I've been a game developer since 1990. I think that was when most of you were still in high school. And we've been, first game was a tabletop role-playing game called Vampire the Masquerade. Went on from that into a lot of different computer games. Mall Tycoon, Warhammer 40k Final Liberation, Machiavelli the Prince, Emperor of the Fading Suns. Oh, by the way, have Steam open on your phone so you can wishlist every game that you can. Remember, wishlist doesn't cost you nothing, but it helps all of us. So keep Steam open. The first one you can wishlist is Emperor of the Fading Suns, which is a title of mine from 1997 that we did a 25-year update on. So that's working out. That's working out well. I also am the executive director of the Georgia Game Developers Association. We represent everyone working on games in Georgia, whether they're at High-Red Studios, Tripwire Interactive, one-person indie game studios, etc. College students as well can join. We have chapters for me at SCAD, we have chapters at CSU, and a lot of other places. And I will be talking about more of our upcoming events. But let's go ahead and start on my left, since he's just sitting down now, and go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing? Doing good?
Yay!
Looking good. Looking good. All right. This is my maybe 10th, 11th. This is cool though. I'm enjoying seeing the event bigger as well. But I mean, kind of me a little bit further in my career and what we do here with the indie game space is definitely great to see MomoCon kind of foster that community that we have here in Atlanta. So my name is Ron Jones. I'm an indie game developer myself. I came here in 2007 to go to the Art Institute of Atlanta, RIP, and study game art design. Since then, I've been kind of working on my own projects, doing freelance here and there. I finally got a job in the industry, so I work at Tripwire Interactive. I do QA there, and yeah, ever since then, like that's my stable, day job and whatnot. So everything else can be unstable. So I still work on my own games. I do art, comics, and stuff like that. But the indie cluster is really the business that kind of takes up all my energy. After I graduated, realized there was a lack of kind of resources and community around the indie game space, and I just really wanted to create that and foster that. So that's what I've been working on. This is our 10th year anniversary, so I'm happy about that. Yay! And, yeah, as I mentioned, so we actually have a booth in the expo area in the exhibit hall, booth 101, and we have 10 games over there currently. A lot of great games, a lot of great energy, a lot of great people helping everybody out. So yeah, I'm excited about that. We got a little photo booth area if you guys want to come and take some snapshots. But yeah, I've been doing that hardcore in the indie space, so I really know nothing that goes on in the AAA world besides all the layoffs. So,
yeah, he's got the stable job because it's almost indie.
Right.
Oh, can anyone hear me? Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Valencia. I am a gameplay engineer at Alchemy Labs. Quick background about me, I graduated with a degree in computer science from Clemson State University in Columbus, Georgia, with a focus in game programming. And then I graduated a great year of 2020, so I stayed at home. And I got an IT job, and I was like, this sucks. I should go make games since I also got a degree in. So started making games on the side, went from making games on the side to making small little vision novels on itch.io, and then started being active in game communities such as indie clusters, such as GDA. Also was very active in like the IGDA during my time at home. And when I met, it's like, why don't you just apply for video game positions since that's what you got your degree in? I'm like, that's accurate. And so I started applying, and last year I got my job at Alchemy Labs as a gameplay engineer making VR games. I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary. All right.
And Valencia has some awesome videos on how to get into the industry. You can find them at our YouTube channel, Georgia Game Devs, DEVS.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm James Simpson, aka Dr. Unity and owner of Cell Block Studios. So I've been also in the gaming industry since about 1990-91. I've worked on hundreds of titles. Based on my mercenary for hire, I'm semi-famous for creating something called a MySpace music player. Maybe before your time, probably. So anyway, I'm actually one of the first 200 people to actually use Unity. So I know. And so I've been talking here for Siege and MomoCon and all these different conventions, and it's kind of funny, we were just talking about this. So Andrew Greenberg was actually my instructor at the Ernst of Atlanta. Sure enough, I was Ron Jones's instructor at the Ernst of Atlanta. So
It's
it's
so
just
weird being up here.
it is. Well, what I'm getting at, it's a really small knit community. You've got to, you don't want to burn bridges, and yet everyone helps each other out. I mean, we all I haven't met her yet, but we've all worked together in some capacity, and that's one of the beauties about indie game developers. You can actually help other people out and join their forces and help their studios instead of going to a larger company, like a AAA company, where they're kind of focused on one product, and usually indie developers, you can always just go pick and choose who you want to work with. And otherwise, here is Jesse.
Hi, so I'm Jesse Jacobson. I'm the Director of Technology at Games That Work, and we're a small, serious games studio here in Atlanta, which means we make games that improve your life outside the game when you're done playing it. I've been in the game industry not as long as James or Andrew, but almost as long. I guess my first game was probably in '96. I was a beta tester, and that is when I was in high school. And then started working on developing my own games. And I was not one of the first 200 people to use Unity. I made the decision that was a bad choice. This is why I'm up here saying how to make it as an indie game developer and not why I'm a genius. But since then, we've done a lot of contract work. We started with advert gaming with Coca-Cola. We spun off. Well, we started as a entertainment game company with Turner. We spun off and became our own studio when Turner was being acquired by Time Warner, then AOL Time Warner. And then we went into advert gaming, and then we went into the serious game space. And since then, we've worked for a lot of Fortune 500 companies, government, anyone who wants to modify behavior in an explicit way. We don't do any of the sneaky advert gaming that encourages kids to drink soda anymore. Anymore. Well, we were in Atlanta. Coca-Cola is in Atlanta. It's pretty obvious at some point.
So we very specifically tried to get a very broad array of talents and backgrounds on the panels. We have folks who do contract work as well as have their own games. I'm kind of more traditional. I used to sell the games in a box. Still just have the game, you buy it once. You're not constantly being hit for more and more DLC. We've got the serious game side, we've got the VR side. And Ron handles everybody. Ron's all that. So we do want an interactive panel. We will be taking questions pretty quickly, but I always like to hit on 3 topics before we throw it open to the floor for conversations. Also, we're going to show some trailers of some of the games downstairs. We'll set that up in a minute. But it's been my experience that there are 3 areas where new indie devs will fall short, and it kind of spans the gamut. It is planning, production, and promotion. And those are really the 3 stages, and these days you kind of have to get every single one of them right to succeed. When I started deving, I didn't have to worry about promotion. I had publishers who'd handle all of that for me and mishandle it often, but they were in charge of it. You can't do that anymore. That does not work. Even if you have a publisher, you need to be socially, you need to be pushing it, you need to be active on it. So, in order to speed through this, we can get to your questions, because I know they're all burning. And you can ask technical questions. You got Unity questions. Ask this guy. You got Unreal questions. We'll call up Epic, and I'll ask them on the phone. But I'll get everyone to give a quick breakdown of what you think key things are for each of these phases. So let's start with the planning phase. Just like 1 or 2 minutes on what are some key thoughts people should keep in mind when they're planning for their first indie game. Jesse, you want to kick it off?
Okay, planning begins for me with paper, pen, dice. If I can play the game and I frequently can, the gameplay core mechanic loops before I write a single line of code, that's great. If I can play it ugly and changing the code every night with testers, that's also great. So for me, the planning phase starts with how am I going to do that iterative testing. But we've gone from we used to produce giant like 20, 30 page proposals, and now it's much more attacking, I think, the core concepts and trusting that the details will be filled in iteratively. That might be a matter of experience. I don't know if that's the best for people who are making their first game.
For Jim?
Okay. Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah, that's great. That was the
That
thing.
works. Just like 2 minutes. I'm like, okay.
I thought it was 2 minutes for all of us.
You get full 2 minutes.
Oh, okay, I would definitely expand on that then. So for us, as a serious game studio, what we try to do is we try to identify what behavior we want to make change. We then build an entire gameplay loop around benefiting that. So we were working with the intelligence community. They had some mistakes that their intelligence analysts were trying to make. They kept making, rather. They were trying to get them not to make it. And they said, can a game improve their ability to do that? And by the way, turns out the math says they can. The games can solve that problem. But we started by essentially figuring out if we could trick them, which of those mistakes we could trick them into making in a gameplay loop and constantly expose them to. And then that defined the entire rest of the planning mechanism. What was our goal there, and then what was the gameplay loop that we used, and then from that we decided on a game that went around it. We tend to be a little more technology agnostic. We do use Unity now. We jumped on the bandwagon very late, but eventually. But we are pretty technology agnostic. We try to do whatever is going to serve the needs of the client when we're doing that. And then when we write up a proposal now, our planning is, here's what we're going to teach, here's how we're going to teach it, and then we get into describing what the game is, probably maybe 70% of the way through. That's not something that applies unless you're making a serious game, but if you're making a serious game, you really want to focus first on the learning and on the gameplay second, because honestly, you can figure out the game that makes you learn whatever it is you want to learn once you've really honed in on that. We've made a game that was 6 months in. When we decided that the lesson was wrong, we took all that work and threw it away. And the client was actually happy about that, which was great. Best client ever. Seriously.
Did they get paid?
They paid for the 6 months of bad work, and then they paid for us to do it right. That is why, and he understood. He's like, oh, you're teaching me exactly what I asked you to teach 6 months ago at the kickoff meeting, but not what I actually want. Also, the client I lost in 10 minutes into the next game that we did. He came back for a third game, but that game actually got a college course canceled. He realized that the entire course was wrong. So the game was canceled because the course it was for was canceled. But that is probably the best learning.
So I do a lot of work for a lot of different companies. And when I work with AAA studios, they teach me about the 666 method. I'm like, excuse me? And it's like, yeah, 666. I'm like, how does that work? 6 months of pre-production, 6 months of production, and 6 months of polishing. It's like, okay, for the first 6 months, what you do is all you're doing is pre-planning and testing scenarios. It's like, okay, I want to put this feature into my game, see if it's even possible. So you go ahead and you try different ways. And nothing's all of basically, it's a proof of concept. You don't want to actually be having anything in stone. Also during that, what problem are they trying to solve? Everyone here, in theory, wants to make a game. So if you want to make something because you're passionate about it, or a client has told you to do something. Number one, clients never know what they want. Ever. Guaranteed. However, you may want to know again. So when you start doing your pre-production, you start writing down, what am I trying to build? What problem am I trying to solve? You know, you start putting all this down. Just like Jesse was saying, I use white box models. So I either mock things up using foam, or I actually go into Maya and I just build a white box model to get my level sizes, just kind of lay everything out, but there's nothing really there. It's just so I can visualize what's going on. And then the next two things, which we'll talk about in a little bit, would be the production part, and that's where you actually do the work. You know, that's when the work actually starts, and you have goals, and then the last 6 months, it's polishing. It's like 6 months of polishing? Yes, because you can make a demo like in an hour and a half, and you will spend the next 6 months trying to get that demo to actually play correctly. So that would be what I would try to go with it.
And that is optimal. That is often not feasible for indies, but it's perfect when you do it. So James brought up a very important word, which is passion. And I don't even lead with that because you're in here because you have a passion for games and probably for indie games as well. And that is critical. But in the planning stage, that passion can mess you up because you want to create the next Grand Theft Auto and do it better all on your own. And unfortunately, that is a little difficult for one person to achieve. So one of the number one things that GGA always recommends for your first game is to do something you know you can achieve right now and get it up on the market. Because every part of this is a learning experience for you. If you've never made a game, even if you think you have all the skills, you will learn new things along the way. Because every time you're making a game, you're making computers do something they have never done before, and you have no idea what that's going to mess up while you're making that happen. So please focus on something that is achievable, not your grand passion. Get something up there, get it out there, get it in people's hands to give you feedback on it, then start working towards that real passion project. You've got to develop the skills to get to that stage. And again, a lot of this is about using the skills you have. Planning, one of the big things is what tools am I going to use? Am I going to use Unity or Unreal, which is perfect for this? We strongly recommend use the tool you already know. That's why you know that James is going to be working in Unity and not trying to do something now in Godot. Even though Godot is a superior engine. I did not say that. Erase that part from the video, please. So focus again, achievable, what you know, what you can do, what your team can do. And I love the 666 rule for game development, but for you got to do what you can afford to do, what you and your team can do together, how long you can last before you kill each other, most importantly. So make sure.
Probably less time than you think.
Oh, we also have our hair.
So we still have it? Oh, you still have it?
Working on it.
So do look at what you and your team can accomplish and how long you can go. And make sure you don't plan to go beyond that. If you've got 3 months before everyone goes back to school and you know you're going to lose their time then, do something you can achieve in 2 months and polish for that last month to get it up online. Focus on that realistic aspect. And all of this, you will do more. You will create more as long as that first one is a success. I can't talk about how many folks I've seen. They go with that passion and that drive and it burns out because they can't get that thing done and then they never create anything. Create something and the rewards are tremendous. But plan for that success right off the bat. Plan to do something achievable. And speaking about somebody's achieving things way beyond what are achievable.
Hello. Hi, so quick comment. I think it's funny it's called 666 because making games can be hell. So, I assume a lot of you guys in here could be the same as me when I was coming out of college. I just came out of college. I didn't know about all these things, and of course, I'm in my room. So, and I don't really know that many people are interested in game development. So I decided to really go on game jams on itch.io. And I started meeting people, especially people online, and I was like, okay, a game jam is when we make a game within a certain amount of time. You don't have time to do all these amazing, wonderful things. You don't have time to really come up with the next GTA. You want to make something achievable, and it has to be based on a theme. And so what I will always do, the way I plan, is I'll be like, hey team, I'll gather my team. I will also ask, can I see the previous work so I know what they're doing? And I will show my previous work as well so we all understand that we have a certain level of expertise. And what I would do is the first day of the jam, we would sit there for a whole day and we would plan what we're going to do. We're going to plan week 1. We're going to plan week 2. Sometimes game jams can be a month to 3 days. We're going to plan what we're going to do this day, this day. We will plan it for a long period of time, and then we'll constantly update each other. We'll ask, what is the update here? What is the update there? So we're always bringing something. And we always want to avoid scope creeping, which is expanding what we want. So we'll be like, okay, what we said, what we want in this first day is what we're going to do, because we all agree that it was achievable. I'm usually the producer / programmer in much of my game jams, and the ones I'm in now. So I would sit there and be like, we have a Trello board. This is your task on the board. Let's get that task done. And when you do things like that, it makes it seem much smoother in the end, and it gives you a lot more time to debug and decode. That's my advice.
Cool.
So yeah, all great points. I wish I could just comment on because there's like literally stories I could say about what everybody has said.
Some of them are not under the eighth star.
So yeah, even to piggyback what was just kind of said as far as like game jams, if you guys are trying to get into the game industry and haven't heard about what a game jam is, I would definitely advise do as many as you can. We're talking about the different steps of production to making a game, but you're going to experience all back to back to back in a game jam. So it's usually kind of like 48-hour or week or month kind of competition to make a game. Usually you can form a team or you can do it solo or whatnot, but you're going to learn like everything and like plus more. You're going to learn what kind of personalities you work with, that you can work with. You're going to learn different engines or tools, what kind of what you can use in a bind and everything like that. So I just advise that. Seek nearest game jam. If there's not one locally, hop on itch.io and find the next one. Also, Andrew mentioned as far as like passion. So I think that's one of the key things that kind of veers people off course when it comes to, or in a poor direction when it comes to getting in this industry, because we all love games, right? But at the same time, it takes a different level of kind of commitment or consistency to actually create games. It is a difficult industry, but a lot of industry are. But when it comes to making a game, you do want to make sure that you kind of don't get burned out by trying to make this one thing that you had in your head for years, your whole life. You played GTA or Call of Duty, and it was like, oh, this will be the perfect game. Like, I just need to learn some skills and make it. If you're working on that game as your first project, chances are you will burn out or you will just hate games, period. So just as a word of advice, getting into the game industry, I think should be a little intentional when it comes to wanting to learn those skills and also learning how to make the dream game that you are going to make, instead of just tackling it straight off as soon as you get in. Just because to me it's a little bit safer, a little bit you're going to be able to still love what you do, love the skills that you learn a little bit later, and then you'll learn those little techniques, whether it's how to make a projectile, how to make a gun shoot something, whether it's bettering your movement system. You're going to pick up those small little techniques, whether it's coding, whether it's what engine is the best engine to use for your dream game. So don't forget about your dream or your passion, but use it to fuel you learning kind of the whole process. I think it's a bit safer. And then on top of that, scope is definitely something that we always try to advise people, keep it small, and then as soon as you make it as small as you can, whatever your first game is going to be, make it even smaller. Because, the more games you're gonna make, you're gonna realize like, oh, you can cut this, you can cut that. That's it's gonna take a whole extra month of me doing the same thing I've been doing. It's probably just better. Do you really need this feature? Do you want to add the story in here or there? Do you want to cut down on making it 2D instead of 3D? All these things are going to play a factor. And if you're not aware of some of these concepts and terms, it can really kind of bog you down and take up a lot of your time the first time you're trying to make a game. So again, part of that learning aspect, but also if you're just kind of here to kind of make a game, just kind of, be mindful about all those roadblocks that can come bite you later on. And the only other thing I would say, as far as especially the planning phase, understanding whether you're making just learning those skills as like a hobby and you're kind of going to take your time in the space, or are you going to make a commercial product? Because you're going to want to look at different market trends. You're going to want to look at your proficiency that was kind of said before, as far as your team, who's going to be on your team, what are they good at, what are people willing to learn, the time, your deadline, anything like that. If it's a holiday game, you don't want to start it Christmas Eve, and kind of stuff like that. Fail fast, knock out everything that might blow up, try to get that out of the way so you can kind of learn to get past it, and then on with the rest of the production and polishing. Because that's the
Something to figure out for what you said. So one of my mentors said something very powerful when I was trying to get into the game industry. hey Valencia, your first game's gonna be trash. So it's gonna suck. I'm just letting you know. Because it's your first game and you don't know things and you don't know what you don't know. So I was like, wow, he might have a point. And my first game was trash. But it took my third game for me to feel confident enough to actually publish on HIO. It was a month-long jam where I made a 5-minute text-based adventure. But it took me a whole month to make a 5-minute text-based adventure. But by the time I made my third game, I felt confident enough in what my skills and what I knew to be able to publish on HIO. So I was like, okay, I could see what my professor meant. My very first one was not good, so it should not be my dream project. My dream project I'm working on now-ish, and this is like after 4 years into the game industry, and after like going far as like a 2D game. But my dream project is never going to be my first game, so that's just your first game is never your dream project.
I always tell people, I give people to build 3 games. Just start with everyone in here. Build these 3 games. Build Asteroids, build Pac-Man, and build Breakout. If you think about that, all those concepts, if you understand all those concepts, you can build those simple little games. You can build literally the next GTA if you so want to. I mean, all the math is there. You're working with inside worlds. You know, with the asteroids, you can go off the screen and pop on the other side. You know, shooting with different velocities. And Breakout, you got the ball bouncing off of different angles. All those mechanics, you can build any other game. So, and you can whip those out in a month. You can finish all 3 of those.
Unless you're doing the actual math programming, then just be aware that when you go from 2D to 3D, collisions, physics gets much harder, and graphics as well. But I wrote a 2D physics engine, and I'm like, oh, I can add a third dimension. And I tried for a while.
And you bought one, right?
Yeah.
Imagine going 3D to VR and doing
Yeah.
VR physics.
2D to VR, no problem.
You got to push the button. You got to hold your finger there for a while.
All right, so you've done a brief design doc, keep the team all on the same page while they're moving forward. You've worked up a schedule, you know how long everyone can actually work on this project. Perhaps you even gotten a funding source. Maybe not, but that would be wonderful too. You know where you're going to publish this eventually. Now you actually get to make the thing. Who wants to start talking about production? Which end, Jesse or Ron? Who wants to get production tips? Go for it, Ron.
I'm only going first just because I know I'm terrible at it. So, yeah, I guess one of the key things, if you put all that work into the pre-production phase, like, production should just be kind of knocking it out, right? Putting the pieces into the slots and maintaining, you know what I'm saying? And then just trying to be diligent, being consistent. But all that's kind of hard, right? Because life be life. So, I would say kind of don't get discouraged. I would say, use those moments to kind of understand the process that you're in. And again, scope creep is a thing, so try not to add new features until you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel for your other features. And I mean, me being the indie that I am, there's always different incentives and methods I always recommend for developers to remember. One being your life is content. So going into the next phase, the polish or the promotion phase, like as you're working on your game, a lot of people are gonna want to know behind the scenes. A lot of people are gonna be curious on how Ron Jones made this game. So whether it's documenting for later use or saying, hey, this is day 25, I'm hungry and I can't afford food. Just post that to social media. Guarantee that little content is going to add up, it's going to build, it's going to be part of your personality, obviously, but there's an interesting relationship between content viewers, and indie game players and the developer. So it's a really beautiful kind of trust. That community and that relationship gets built, and I believe ultimately that's what helps indie games survive and thrive when the game is released. So I always recommend developers building that synergy with their potential players or their future players before the game is out, building up that community. And the other thing is always keep QA in mind. ever since I got this QA job at Tripwire, I've learned and understood the importance of how important and necessary QA is, quality assurance testing. It's advertised as the entry-level position, and hey, just come play games when you're out of college and get some money. But it really takes a dedicated eye to try to break the game, to document everything that you've done, to organize the reproduction steps, to be able to, even if you're a solo developer, documenting all that and maintaining some sense of order when it comes to finding the bugs, finding the problems with your current build, your current project, would only make you fixing it or your team fixing it that much more efficient. So definitely keep that in mind. It's never too soon, never too early to test your games. As was mentioned earlier, doing iterative testing in the pre-production phase. Please do that. There are too many AAA studios out here that do not test until later on. It's so annoying because they have the resources, they have the money. It's like you're wasting so much time. Like, please, just do it early. Fix these bugs early to give me the money. But yeah, so keep that in mind, and yeah, do your thing.
Okay. So actual production phase, like I said before, in my case, you have that team meeting. In our case, we had a Trello board, a Monday.com board, some sort of board, some sort of visual media where everyone knows what everyone's task is. Everyone should know what other people are doing on the board. So I should be able to see tasks getting knocked out. And I should be able to see that, hey, this is going to be done this day. This is going to be done this day. And honestly, I think the hardest thing to do is just set realistic expectations for yourself. You probably have lives outside this game. You probably work a job outside this game. You probably go to school. You probably have other things going on. You're going to be tired. Like, okay, I can only work in the game 2 days. You can only work in the game 2 days. Set the time to do that. And also, scope it down enough that you'll finish the game earlier than expected, so you can allow time to test and time for BS. So, time for things just happen in life where everything is blown up, the entire day, you don't have anything, you can't do it. You're just mentally exhausted. You can't work on today. That's like I said, time for crazy stuff like that to happen. But if you scope down your game enough, that allows you to be like, okay, I can work on the game tomorrow. I don't feel as stressed because I plan to, if something happens, I gave myself extra time. I think the biggest parable I can give for my recent adventure, I make a lot of visual novels on the side, which again, not kind of easiest, one of the few easy games you can make. And even visual novels, they take time planning. Because I was working on the UI for the game, and we're having a chat room UI, and I was like, oh, this is way more difficult than I expected. Oh no. And I was like, hey, I don't have the time to do all this to a team leader. And so but I can find someone who does. And so when I was like, let me find a UI programmer, and me and them can pair up, and we can get it knocked out together, because I know I don't have mental capacity. I can find someone who does have mental capacity. And that's how we got knocked out together. So know your weaknesses, know your strengths, and find people to help you with your weaknesses as well.
Yeah, and Valencia's ties in real well to mine, which is communication. If you're a solo dev, communicate with your damn self. Write down what you thought about today, because you won't remember why you implemented that tomorrow. So make sure, commenting your code, if for solos actually matters. When you're going to come back to that code in a few years, you really want to know why you did whatever that
I forget everything.
Yeah.
I open up my game and I'm like, why is this doing this? What is happening?
And if you're in a team, communicate. My current team, we've got several Scandinavians, we've got an Italian, we've got Mexico City, we've got this weird country called Arizona, we've got people all over the place. Valencia talks about Trello, great tool. If you've never used Trello, don't bother. Use what you know and that the team's willing to use. Nothing's worse than having a great communication tool none of your team wants to get on. If you're on Discord already, just use Discord. It's going to be fine. Just make sure you are communicating in there. Have your off-topic channel too, so that people can gripe or talk about their dogs or whatever. But make sure you have a plan for communicating between the team members, and that is the same as a solo dev writing notes to themselves. You go back to your Discord and say, "That's why the hell I did that stupid thing." And makes a huge difference through production. The more you're communicating in there, the better it's gonna help you as you get to the slog of production. Why the hell did we do this? Oh yeah, keeping everyone on the same page is absolutely key for a team.
So there's a line from a movie I like called A Hunt for October, and the captain goes, "The Russians don't take a dump without a..." What is it?
No Russian takes a dump
Yeah.
without playing.
Thank you. Yeah, so Russians don't take
Sean
a dump
Connery
without,
over there.
yeah, I saw that, without a plan. So the concept is you just got done spending 6 months doing your pre-production. And in that time, you've already put together what you're going to be building. And at the same time, you're going to start picking out your tools. And the tools that you're picking out is what you're going to be using. You're not going to be like, okay, we're going to do production. Now what do we need? We need Elysium, we need Jira, we need Confluence, we need Trello. Wait, you should have already figured this stuff out. You don't go into production, you don't go into full production until you've figured out what you want. And someone mentioned earlier, Valencia?
Yes.
I think mentioned about scope creep. Scope creep kills. Scope creep is the concept of you've already planned something, you've got these 8 tasks, and you realize, you know what? Let's just slide this 9th one in. Or the client comes back and go, you know what, this is great, but make everything blue.
Mobile is the thing now.
I don't know what that, yeah, change it, yeah. Quick side story. So I was working for a company called Wild Tangent, and I built a game based upon a game called Battlefield. Battlefield 2020 or something of this nature. Well, the concept was you're in a turret. And essentially, you turn around, you shoot at things around you in 360. It was an arcade video game. I was doing a sci-fi version of that. And I was literally finishing the game, getting ready to submit the submit button. And they go, hey, the game is great. Do me a favor. Make the turret move. I'm like, what do you mean move? It is spinning around. No, let it get drive around. I'm like a hover tank? So now I had built the entire environment, with the concept with these walls so you can't see everywhere. Now I got to worry about something moving, and then everything's off because I had all my AI coming to the center origin point. So I'm like, this is a bad time to tell me this, so it's essentially doubled the entire time because I have to rebuild the game more or less from scratch, get all the art. So that's the whole purpose of pre-production is plan out what you want to be doing, what you want to be building, and then also you can therefore set your expectations. It's like, okay, you may want to add this feature. That's what DLC is for. Do that later. Don't try to change your production in the middle of production. It will always end bad. Your turn.
All right. Yeah, and I think there's a huge difference between scope creep, where like make the turret move.
Yeah.
There is some small amount of modifying things as you go, where you realize, for
Dealing
instance,
with reality.
dealing with reality, dealing with the fact that maybe guns should make sounds when they shoot, so maybe you should go online and find, the open source free sound effects.
Found it during pre-production.
Should have done it during pre-production. There's a list. There is a list, but when you do that, you should know that is an additional cost. You don't have a lot of those changes you can make without totally messing up your schedule, and you really don't want to mess up your schedule. But the biggest thing is, especially if you're working with other people or just your future self, parallelization. That's what no one else has mentioned. But if I'm working on code, I don't really care what the final thing looks. I care what it looks like, but I need to see something on the screen. I need to be able to program and make sure my code, to work on my code iteratively, seeing it in game before the artist is done making it.
Like a test harness?
Huh?
Like a test harness?
Test harness. I was actually just thinking about programmer art.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or test harness for an artist, something that the artist can see as they're working on with the animations.
Yeah, usually programmers are in general are horrible artists.
And people.
And people. And we all want to be artists. It's really bad.
Well, yeah, and so I need to make sure that the start of the sound is at the appropriate point in the
Yes.
animation, and that I can change those too, right? So I might use something absolutely horrible, knowing that while I'm working on that, the sound engineer is working on something else. And the most important communication is not, I don't even think, why did you do what you did? I think the most important communication is who are you stopping from working, and what can you do to get them working?
That's what a Gantt chart is.
It's what a Gantt chart is for.
Gantt chart.
Who taught you about those?
Yes, you.
I have a friend, they have a company, and all they do is optimize Gantt charts.
It's worth it.
Yeah. I'll give them your number. You can.
Yeah. My life is a Gantt chart.
But yeah, Gantt charts, optimizing, getting out of everyone else's way is, I think, the most important task. Getting out of your future self's way. If you can't figure out what you want something to do or to look like, can you be working on something else while the back of your head's working on that? Also, if you take a shower, you solve 90% of the problems that are.
I like
Or a long
exercising
walk,
for
one of the
that.
two.
Yeah, walks, go to the gym.
Yeah,
that
get outside,
answer will
exactly.
come to you. All right, so we're running out of time. I really want questions. So 1 minute. pitch what you're doing and pitch how they should be pitching. How should they be promoting?
Oh God, okay, so one, when you come here, have something you can talk about. I did not do that today. My partner's actually up in North or South Carolina right now delivering a product, but I'm not sure that it's public yet. If you're going to do, there were videos that we're about to show. If someone offers you the opportunity to show a video to a room full of people, take them up on it. We had 4 people take us up on it, so you'll see 4 videos, but many people were on that email chain. And if you have an indie cluster, then you should probably push the URL. I'm just going to say that.
IndieCluster.com.
All right, 1 minute.
I literally forgot what game I'm working on. Apparently the game I'm working on right now is called Flying Aces Legend of the Red Baron. It'll be available on PS5, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox when I get out of this conference.
And what should people be doing about how to promote their own games?
They should always be promoting their games. They should be going to conventions and networking, socializing, and putting things up on the screen over here and showing them how great their stuff is. I'm looking at these demos here.
Yeah, I know. We're not getting them up on the screen yet.
They look fantastic.
We'll turn them around in a minute if this doesn't work. So, live stream. I am now a complete fan of live streaming your development as well as your games. There used to be an old rule in the game industry: do not show your game until it's ready. That rule is so gone now. I love play testing my games online, whether it's still in development. I love that feedback from people watching and catching things that I did not notice. I was just watching a live stream. There's a lady live streaming her game dev for 5 hours. It had thousands upon thousands of views. It was absolutely wonderful. We got one of our devs in the GGDA, Karen Williams, Urchins and Ink. She live streams her dev, shows Unity stuff. It's always incredible. I'm going to be live streaming my game in production tomorrow at 11 o'clock again, youtube.com/GeorgiaGameDevs. And I love the feedback I get as well as the promotion it does. I'll take a little bit more moderator privilege. I used to say that games are databases and the best games are the ones that just hide that fact the best. I no longer believe that. Games these days, the best games are those that deliver the best community and do everything you can to build that community. This is true in any kind of game. You're not just delivering that product, you're delivering people I'm going to care about and want to game with, and I want to talk to. That's why the Discord communities are so important. That's why the YouTube communities are so important. Never forget your players. That community is the core, not only of what makes you successful, but now it's what makes your game good, the people playing it.
When it comes to promotion, for me, what I'm plugging, not much, I'm working on my thesis games. I guess we'll talk about that. I'm making a game for my thesis, for my graduate studies. I'm making a game that teaches narrative design. So when you play as a GM, and you go telling your own story, and you see how the NPC reacts to it. So that's my thesis game I'm working on. Hopefully you'll see it next spring. Hopefully I'll have a trailer by the end of the year. And one piece of advice I give for promotion is what I did in 2020 was build a community, talk to other people. There are people like you out there. You are not the only person making your game. You're not the only person who's going to like your game. There are other people who enjoy what you enjoy. Please remember that. We'll have a whole convention of people enjoying the same thing I enjoy, which is anime and video games. So I always keep that in mind. So I hope that brings more comfort to promoting your stuff. Most people aren't here to say this is shit. Most people aren't here to say this is crap. Most people are there to say, well, I like this, and this is why I think we'll be better about it. Most people give honest critiques and feedback. Well, I have ran into the kings that have. Most people aren't jerks. So I would say be open to showing it. Most people, I know you're scared. You have to be scared of hate, and I get scared of hate as well. But people who are passionate and honest about your work will be honest with you about it, and you'll want that feedback from them. And you want to build community as you're developing the game. So that's my piece of advice.
If you're going to have questions while Ron is speaking, go ahead and line up here. We'll give you a microphone. So go ahead and line up in the middle to ask questions. And if you have a game to promote, you'll have 30 seconds to pitch your game and where people can find it.
Cool. So I guess all great advice and whatnot. The only thing I would probably add is to, it doesn't hurt being a nice person, smiling, creating a good impression on somebody that goes really far, especially in this business. And that's something you want to keep in mind. We all have our biases and whatnot, our bad days and stuff like that, but just be a pleasant person to be around, whether you're promoting yourself or just you want others to want you around. And as far as additional promotional stuff, I guess it's probably a good time to plug the Indie Cluster. So we have a couple of services and initiatives that we do, but it's all kind of geared towards helping developers so they can focus on their game. So I'll talk about 3 of them. So I'll talk about one, showing up at different conferences and getting your game in front of people. So that's literally what we're doing in the expo hall now, our booth 101. So we have 10 games out there. The developers behind the table. Everybody's showing off their game and basically introducing them. They're the ones that made this game, describing the experience, giving people that mindset and that I guess that the good feels, right, about what their game is and why they should be playing it. So that's what we offer, provide an opportunity for people to kind of show up to different conferences and events. 2 is we help with community building. So as I mentioned, we always advise people to get involved with the community during production phase. So we also kind of jump into their Discord channel, their YouTube social media page to help them out when it comes to responding to different individuals and building kind of a framework. So it's kind of less stressful, and all they have to do is kind of plug and play when it comes to the little dev diaries or anything that they do want to promote. So that's a service that we also offer. Also the QA service as far as helping developers get that feedback. That kind of ties into our 3rd promotion service where we every week we have a stream, Monday and Wednesday, where we promote indie games. So if you guys have a game now that you want more people to look at, we do a stream there where it's myself or one of my teammates. We just promote the game, do a let's play, have a great time. I do mostly games that are in development, so I look for bugs. I talk about game design, and one of my other guys on Wednesdays kind of promote games that are already out there. So we kind of talk about the design space and genre and all that kind of stuff. So, yep, that is us. IndieCluster.com for more information about that. And I'm just trying to talk now.
Oh, all right, and ggda.org, write that down as well, for the Georgia Game Developers Association, and let's give, wow, these mics don't go very far, do they? That's good. Come on up closer.
E-bikes.
All right, your game and your question.
Should I do the question first or game?
Game! Always promote yourself first.
We don't need to know your name, your game.
So my game is called My Dad Santa. It is a short visual novel about an awkward conversation between you and your dad, who is Santa Claus. And you can find the link to that. It is actually complete. I did it a few years ago on happycrazywild.com.
Thank you.
And my question is, I know that you mentioned iterative testing and the importance of that. I would like to hear you expand more on that. And what are your thoughts on unit testing? That's something I haven't figured out yet.
Yeah, call the Indie Cluster first while they do testing.
No problem. Unit testing. You familiar with that specific term? Unit
Yeah,
testing?
so unit testing is typically when you're testing the inputs and outputs of a function or a small piece of the code base. And so that it can verify that it's working fine. I know that that's really popular in a lot of more, I guess, an app or something that's more of a website. I found it it's a little hard with games. Games don't have as much state-free programming. So there's usually a lot of other pieces that happen where it's hard to test like a function in isolation, in my opinion. Iterative testing, there's 2 aspects of it. One is, testing as you go to make sure there's no bugs. But a bigger one is every parameter you put in, every time you're making a decision when you're making a game, just testing that decision by itself. So, is the car too springy? Right? The shocks. That's going to be a tuning question. But iteratively, as you design it, does this animation work in this setting? And the faster the artist can say, no, I'm going to change that animation and put that in the game and see it, the better. And so I tend to take a more holistic aspect of seeing it in place and then iterating from that than unit testing, which is testing it outside the system.
Yeah, same here, and I love my GitHub branches. I mean, branch to test that element. Get that element tested before you incorporate it into the main GitHub.
Yeah, and then merge it back.
I just wrote
No problem.
All right, next question. Sure, absolutely. But let the next person up. I don't know how much time you have. Bring it up to us at the end.
Okay.
But yeah, hello. What's your game?
I don't have a game yet, but
Soon.
I would like to promote my channel. It's OR30. Thank you.
OR3.
Oh my god, I love your channel!
Nice to meet you too. Oh my god, this is more nerve-wracking than I thought. I'm a musician and I'm totally new and not experienced with game development, and I'm trying to make my own game, and I have a team composed of 2 artists, 2 programmers, and 2 musicians, including me. How should I be paid then? By hour, by commission, or percentage splits?
What can you afford? Well, that's what it is. You don't want to promise what you
I
can't get.
don't know. I can afford, like, I was thinking of starting a Kickstarter too, so.
With
Yeah.
well, yeah. Go ahead.
Definitely beware of Kickstarter and game, or putting a game on Kickstarter these days.
Yeah.
They don't do as well as they used to a couple years ago or 10 years ago. But just be wary of that. But I think when it comes to how you're going to pay, everybody's a volunteer, but you want to make sure that when money does start coming in, that things are clear, right? And also, if you do obviously have some money up front, people are going to want to get paid. So I would think of whoever is the CEO, whoever is running the studio, whoever's at the top making the decisions, to chop it up to where, say, somebody might just make some sound effects, but does that really include them to have 30% of the game or the project, or like basically whatever makes sense for your team. If your artists are just contract where they come in every now and then to adjust some painting and stuff like that, but if you guys are all running a studio, I would say think of it as a business, and then whoever's the CEO, whoever's the president of this or that, and then underneath those are positions where the artist, the programmer, that's where they're getting paid. I don't know if that answers the question, but kind of think of it like that but me personally, contract is a little bit easier. Say, hey, I'll pay you for 20 hours or something like that, because I'm kind of.
I think my opinion would be, if you don't know how to estimate how long something's going to take hourly, you should probably offer them a commission rate, so that they let the programmers figure out how long it's going to take them to program, because otherwise you're going to guess wrong, and you're going to have to pay them by the hour for something they're not doing.
Yeah, in your case, especially when you can't scope out what they're doing, you want to pay them based on successfully hitting milestones. They've created this, pay them pay them X for creating Y, and Y is clearly defined. You know it, they know it, there's no question. When that happens, they get money.
And if you did want to do some of that as a back end split as opposed to giving the money up front, again, milestone based. They get a percentage of the back end and then it's something that you guys can agree that they hit because it shows up in the game and it works and it does the thing that you said.
So take your feature and break it into parts, like maybe 4 milestones. It's like, okay, I want to see a character moving. Okay, then so you've completed 1 of 4. Then okay, I want to get a character shooting. Okay, you got 2 of 4. Okay, at the end, then you get paid. You don't care how long it's going to take them, because they're going to tell you it takes them 5 hours, and it's going to take them 50. So you don't want to be paying us like, well, it took longer than I, and they're always going to say that, it took longer than I thought, because they weren't really interested in the first place. Because you want your game, they just want money.
And
everyone
everyone
important. It is important, because if that is the case, then that means you're the boss and they're the worker or whatnot. But if everybody's like on free, everybody's doing the same amount of work, we're all in this together kind of vibe, the percentage, and that everybody gets paid later on could work, but still make sure you have to know that you're a business. You're making a product. You have to think of it like that, or else things will get kind of messy later on.
And are you local?
No.
You're not in Georgia? Oh, okay, good luck.
You came here? You came here?
MomoCon's incredible, of course it is. MomoCon's incredible. We can sit down and talk about other ways to handle it well afterwards. All right, we're going to turn on some of these very quickly. I won't have the volume up really high, but we'll get, the volume is on. Oh, there we go. There's the
Does that play while we ask questions?
While we're asking questions, Andrew?
yeah, I was going to have this on low. These are various games you see. This is by this gentleman right here, right? Grimesoft Studios.
That's the advantage of being the tech guy. You put your own work first.
Hello. Hi. What's your game?
So my game, I made a game almost 5 years ago now. So, it's called Wonder Up Bot. It's a rage-inducing 3D platformer. It didn't do so well. So,
Not enough tables to flip in the world.
I would say just don't play it.
Don't promote your games like this. Thank you for coming up to give the object lesson.
But I'm doing 3D graphics programming right now. I'm thinking about getting back into indie game development. I'm an XR developer right now.
Excellent.
But my question is, I was introduced to something called the 20 Game Challenge recently by a friend, and he wanted to know if it was a good idea to give it a shot. So I wondered if any of you all had any thoughts on that.
20 game challenge, anybody?
Like,
Make 20 games?
make 20.
I've made 20 games. Sure, do it.
Make 20 games. Wait, 20 games for one time period. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, do it.
Absolutely. Making games is fun, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, we gripe, but I love
It's the
modding.
passion we have. That's why we got into this.
I'm not sure of the parameters of the challenge, but I mean, it sounds like something where it's like, whether it's 20 games in like an hour, or 20 games in like a month or something like that. That rapid prototyping is essentially the idea of it, and you do it more for like learning experiences and stuff like that, seeing what you're gonna run into, seeing if you can troubleshoot quick enough, and those are always kind of worth.
James put out a 3-game challenge earlier.
Yeah, 3, that's right. And I mean, we talked about all the challenges involved, but there's very little more gratifying than seeing your game out there and people playing. When I saw my game boxes on shelves,
It was nice.
Vampire. It's an amazing experience to actually see your game out there being played, getting feedback, seeing that Reddit thread come out without you doing anything, Discord communities that you have nothing to do with, that are dedicated to your games. That's stuff's great.
Yeah, it's always great. Even if it's on itch.io, it's always great to put it out there because you don't know who will love your stuff. Like, I recently put out a visual novel. I was like, this is something I'm doing for fun. And to this day, that text-based adventure I made, people ask about to this day, like, oh, when are your next part? I guess I gotta make next part. Because people are already interested in the game. Even though to me it was just a 5-minute text-based adventure.
So do it.
Yeah, definitely do it. It's kind of it also mentions like kind of like a traditional art class where it's like you're sketching. So if it's the same concept, and there's a line in here, it says many professional game developers will recommend making multiple small projects instead of starting with a dream game. That's literally what we said. So.
100% agree.
Great. I appreciate it. Okay.
And promote it and tell us so when you do it.
I'm not doing it, but I'm not doing the 20 Game Challenge. Thank you.
You got the question or the bear has the question? Or the bear has the game and you got the question?
Hi, I don't really have a game yet. All of my games are currently in like pre-development hell. But my question was, in terms of like more mechanically driven games like platformers or fighting games, how important is it to be like really original with your system?
Oh. So, originality's dead. When you're making the game, make it very basic, simple gameplay loop of this rapping, this rapping, this rapping. Then add a few little things to make it more quote-unquote original. But I promise you someone probably already did what you're doing, or your idea about being just done a different way. But what I would like to say about when it comes to originality, no, there's no official original concept, but no one can make the game the way you make it.
Right.
I can't make your game, no one else can make your game. You have a very unique perspective on your game. And so I would say focus on making your basic systems, make sure the game works and it functions, and we can play test it, and then add little things that make it unique.
And if you want to feel better about it when you're designing the game, come up with one thing you think is cool. Everything else can be a copy of Asteroids. But you're doing it very cool, and instead of asteroids, you're shooting amoebas, octopuses, I don't know, bad hair, whatever. Yeah, eggs. Come up with your one thing that's unique and make that happen and grow from there.
Yeah. Don't focus so much on originality. Go to art school. I understand you.
All right. Next up, music festivals. Come down here.
Yo.
Corbella.
Hello, my name is Andrew Corbell. I'm a performer and a public speaker. I run VR chat and other VR platform music festivals to tens of thousands for charity, maybe once or twice a month. My question is, for sponsorships and partnerships with big name companies, So we all know that Facebook pours out billions to make the bottom of the barrel of what's actually possible on VR, unfortunately. But when it comes to bigger, better names such as Sony or let's say Ubisoft, what's your opinion? Should we be approaching these companies or should we be trying to make our own path?
Make your own path.
Yeah.
100% make your own path. Because as someone who works in VR, Alchemy Labs, you probably play our games, Job Simulator, Cosmos, High. We are owned by a bigger company, but we make our own stuff. We don't. The bigger company don't ever come in and try to tell us what to make. We don't do that. Our CEO specifically stops that. And you should do the same thing, because the thing about these big AAA companies, they're not as, not saying not as passionate as you, but not. They're not going to be as passionate about your idea as you are. You can do so much VR development without them at all. There are so many great indie VR games that don't involve them at all. And you can see Sony just kind of left their VR thing on the table. They're not as passionate at VR as we are.
What about bringing them in as like an advertisement, like on the wall? Would that be fruitful at all? Or?
I'm not sure about that. I'll get to mine.
So you just want a larger IP to advertise your small company?
To an extent. I have a team of around 65. We have like the biggest names you see across Twitch and YouTube. So we already have the presence. We just need a little bit more funding to do bigger things, because in VR you can pretty much make whatever you can imagine and you could just be right in there.
Yeah, funding is hard.
If you're familiar with Facebook, don't take that into account of what I'm talking about. This is way...
Yeah, I mean, I like what Valencia mentioned as far as the people you often talk to in larger corporations, they're not going to be passionate, one, but definitely might not even know the space that you're in. They're like, oh wait, my son plays games, I don't know, with the, you know what I'm saying? The unfortunate piece about it, like when more money starts getting involved, that's when politics starts getting involved versus the passion of the developer, right? So I think having strategic partners is really kind of the way to go about it, not thinking about Microsoft as maybe a potential paycheck, Microsoft, Amazon, whoever, because those deals often fall through, which is wild. But work on what you want to work on, be passionate about that, and then maybe find some smaller partners with this other streamers, other developers that are also in the same, like, man, these big people with the money suck, let's do something together, and kind of keep growing to where you don't need those other people with the money, but then also that's when they start knocking on the door, you know what I'm saying? So just keep, that's why ownership is also important, so just keep all that in mind.
There are agencies that will handle this for you, so you can go to some agencies. Okay, because they're already working with some of them. My game, MomoCon, was actually one of the first PC games ever to have ads in it, and showed how long ago this was with software, etc., and Electronics Boutique putting ads on into the game. But it is a legitimate source of revenue to get their sort of sponsorship, to get their involvement. But one of the advantages of working with a publisher is they're often set up for this already. So Blue Mammoth Group here in town does Brawlhalla. They got bought by Ubisoft and selling all these licenses come pouring into it. So there's a group called Indie Game Business, and they have a great 1,000 publisher list or something like that. They've got a great active Discord channel for an indie.
excellent. Okay.
Indie Game Business. Look at their list of publishers, because you can find publishers there who have better relationships with these agencies or with these groups to bring that sort of ad support in.
And I will
Are we
say,
being waved at for overtime? Well, yeah, we're over time. I'll keep going with questions until we get kicked out by the next panelists. Are the next panelists in here? All right, we'll keep going. As long as there are questions, I'll keep answering questions.
I know Coca-Cola, God, this would be 20 years ago now, had a virtual
World of Coke,
music
yes,
festival.
the virtual World of Coke, yeah.
They were doing very well.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Have a
sir.
good moment.
Good luck with Corbella. Corbella.
Yeah.
Our game is depending title, like Hand Your Dealt. It's like a dating deck building sim.
Deck
but-
building.
So what we're, my question is just mostly, this is most down the line, we're still like in early pre-production, but were there times when you felt like you or a member of your team felt like giving up, and how did you?
Never.
I also have this. Oh my gosh! So I work full time and I go to grad school full time and I make games on the side. So all the time, at one point, my biggest project I'm working on now, I felt like giving up on it. And actually, I did give up on my little text-based game. I was like, no one wants this. That's not a big deal. It's not a big interesting. I almost gave up my game. And then one thing that really boosted me to get back on it was the community around it. Was people saying that, hey, I really like this. I was like, oh, they're all finishing the game. Every time I talk about my dream project I'm working on right now, people are like, oh my god, I can't wait to play that. That's the motivation to keep people going and team going. And like, always go back to the reason why I'm doing that. And the reason why is because you're passionate, you love it, and the importance of sharing your project, sharing your development, because the community can be your motivation to completion.
And as people are walking out, let me push ggda.org, Emperor of the Fading Suns on Steam, and also we'll be doing an e-game showcase September 14th at the Dorville Digital Studio. You can check out any games. Remember to follow ggda.org, subscribe to our newsletter, and you'll learn all about it. Bye, Marcus.
Also, feel free to reach out to me on social media through Valencia Coleman.
And also, if you have something, that's where having something small on the screen really helps. Just being able to see that you're accomplishing something, you've checked something off, as opposed to trying to bite off too big a chunk. I think it's really, that I think is a big source of discouragement. It's too much.
Yeah, there's nothing more discouraging than realizing you might never finish it. Get something you can finish it. That is so discouraging.
Thank you.
So I'm working on a game. It's basically a series based on cosplayers and all the drama that goes with cosplay.
No drama.
Like cosplayers basically have like powers based on their gear and wear and inside of tournaments, and it's a wild story. But anyway, so I also have a panel, a game development panel at Early 301 at 10 p.m. tonight. Y'all check that out. But my question is, do you have like a link or community of just like game testers?
The answer is yes.
Okay, cool. Then I'll definitely, look this up. Thanks.
What's the name of your game? Is it?
The Boat 5 unit.
Okay. Awesome.
It's part 1 of the Conventures.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds. Oh, we love to.
And I'm on Steam. So the Boat 5 unit, it comes right up. I know a fancy trailer.
Yep. Because there was a similar conceptually kind of cosplay game that we played. I found him on TikTok, just played it, and it was a good time. So, down. Cool.
Next question. I need to go. Yeah.
My name is Kenya. The game is in progress called Graduating. It's a simple tutorial game to teach.
The exact opposite has been flamed.
To teach high school college students about how to evolve and how to the properties of water.
Very cool.
And regards to that,
That's who you want to talk to. Continue.
I am in the team all by myself. And so regards to that, I'm kind of like a chair of management and farmers. As in the coding as is required in the classrooms, but advise you to practice on PSCP development that wants to seek management positions.
Alright, so the thing about seeking management positions, because I've been in several, especially in like small group projects, you're gonna suck the first time you do it. So just keep on doing it. Like that's how I got my management positions in my game jams, and people trust me to be a producer now. But that's because the first time I did it was not great. And it just comes with experience, honestly. Look up what makes a good leader. Care about your people. Treat them like people. If they say they got something going on, believe that they got something going on and adjust your schedule to make sure something going on. Like, for example, I had one person on my team who my artist could not work on it anymore for the rest of the quarter because she was not feeling well. I was like, okay, cool. We can adjust the game. I can find someone to help you. We can do other things. I'm not going to pressure you to do something you're not doing well in. So always, I believe in a servant leadership approach. So always get that kind of approach to your people and your team. And like I said, you're not going to be the best manager ever. You just got to kind of experience it. I'm not sure if anyone has been the best.
The two main traditional routes to production in the game industry, you can come into QA, because that way you see everything in the company, you see everything that can go wrong, you see how it can actually go right. The second way is there's often PA roles, production assistant roles at bigger companies. So you can come in at an entry level.
Do a lot of game jams, get that experience as a project manager.